Oh, hey, good morning, good afternoon, everybody, depending on which part of this beautiful country that you're in. You're watching Rebel Roundup, our daily news and opinion show. I'm your host, Sheila Gunn Reid, back safe and sound in my bunker under the stairs in somewhere in the wilds of northeastern Alberta. And I'm joined by my regular Wednesday co-host, my best friend in the whole wide world, from Regina, Saskatchewan, Lise Merle. And we did not plan our matching outfits, but we have the brainwaves of each other. Lise, how's it going?
We are connected that way, aren't we, Sheila Gunn Reid? Where we starting
Mhm.
to dress the same and act the same and do all the same stuff. I couldn't be better, my dear Sheila. I could not be better. What a great day to be here with all of our viewers. We have an exciting, jam-packed show for you today. Sheila, why don't you tell us about that show?
Yeah, we look like we're going to a square dance.
I love it.
Me too. So if you are watching us on Rumble and you're supporting that great free speech platform, I should tell you, we'll never take a penny from any level of government to do the work that we do, to do our journalism work. So if you're watching us on Rumble and you want to get involved in the show, we like to democratize the show, let you have your say instead of just us talking at you. We'd like you to talk back to us. If you want to support us and have your say, you can leave a Rumble rant. That's their paid chat. If it's over the $5 US cutoff, it's obligatory that we read it and address it on air. If it's under that, we'll do our very best, time permitting. And I really do mean that. We do our very best. If you are watching us on the censorship platform of YouTube, surprise, surprise, we remain remonetized over there. If you want to support us over there, you can leave us a super chat. That's their paid comment over there. And the same rules apply. But there's also an extra thing that you can do on YouTube, before they take it away from us for no good reason. And that's leave us a paid comment on the recorded version of the show. It's called a super thanks. And we appreciate you because without you, there's no Rebel News. We just couldn't do this work without you because, as I said, we don't have a sugar daddy, an oligarch, or the government funding our way around here. If you want us to keep working, we rely on your support. So that's that. I am freshly home from 5 days in a holiday trailer covering the G7. And there were some questions from the hand-selected media to Mark Carney. I should explain to everybody how the media situation worked around
Please.
there.
Yeah, please.
Because they do this sneaky little thing, and man, I tell ya, some of the international media were pretty effing irate about it. Like, for example, this one photographer from Turkey. Like, could you imagine the schlag you have to make to get to Banff from Turkey? And they told, he's like, even the photography is pooled. And I'll explain what pooled means in a second. And the global affairs people are like, well, you can take a picture of the screen of the live stream of the meetings. And he was
He's like,
absolutely
I could do that
indignant.
from I could do that from Turkey. I could have done that from Turkey, thanks.
Exactly the point. So we were accredited for the G7 thanks to a last minute fight back. You can see our legal filings and help cover off the cost of Sarah Miller just putting her nose to the legal grindstone to just ready to smack the daylights out of the government one more time. And the government blinked once they figured out we were going to get a hearing in front of the same federal court that knocked them down twice previously when they denied us access to the debates commission. So, uh, so they rescinded last minute, accredited us, said it was, our systems were down. Sure. Is that why you accredited Western Standard the week previous? Sure, sure, sure. Anyway, whatever. They lost, they blinked, we get in. But what they don't tell you is there's two tiers of accreditation.
Mm.
So you get there and there's regular media accreditation. And of course, we've never asked for special treatment. We just want to be able to do our job like everybody else. But every little bit of access to the leaders was pooled media, meaning someone else will go ask the questions, someone else will go take the pictures, and then you just get access to use their work. You get to show the clips. And so you can see my email there. Pooled media, pooled media, pooled media. And that was the picture of the media lockup and see where it says PKML. That's the Sinclair Room in Kananaskis. The media center was in Banff, an hour away. So all the journalists
Oh,
who weren't part of the hand-selected pooled media were over an hour away up the road in Banff, and sort of this is where we had to work. Now, it's not the worst place to work in the world, that's for sure. Like, it's Banff, it's beautiful. Look at, there's me. There's somebody from the media shuffling his way through the back, but whatever. You know, it's fine. I'm used to being kept out of stuff, like when I'm kept out of stuff at the climate change conferences, you find your own journalism, right? But we were not able to ask anybody questions. There was like a media theater where if a dignitary would come over, we could go ask questions, but none of them ever did. One came over and gave a statement and then left. And it's like, whoopity doo. Thanks for nothing. Thanks for
huh.
gracing us with your appearance. But that's how it worked. So the pooled media was like CBC, naturally, like BBC, Reuters, I think Washington Post. They were the people who were on location at the Pomeroy in Kananaskis where this was held, and everybody else, including Glenn McGregor, was over there slumming it with us. So that's how it worked, which is why you don't see Rebel News asking any questions of the leaders. I had questions for the Indian Prime Minister, like, how do you plan to advance your country if all your foreign students are over here with no intention of ever going back? Aren't you worried about brain drain? And
Right?
I had a question for President Trump. Of course, I was going to ask him, would he recognize a fully independent and free Alberta, which would immediately stop any of the harassment directed at us, compelling us to stay even if we voted to leave, because we would have the recognition of our free state from the world's military and democratic superpower. So that's what I would have asked if I had been allowed, but
Hmm.
I was not hand selected by the G7 who played this little funny little game on us. And, there were a lot of international media who were complaining. They said this like should have been up for lottery. They should have rotated
Oh,
us
yeah.
over the
There,
course of
there,
3 days.
there were a multitude of ways that they could have made it fair and accessible to the international media and the domestic media and our homegrown media, and they did not. What did you say? CBC, Reuters, and National Post. These are all media organizations that are funded by the federal government or Global Affairs. I think a couple months ago we discovered that Global Affairs Canada was funding the BBC. This is the British
Oh, the BBC
Broadcasting
was there.
Corporation.
The BBC was there. So the BBC were part of the pooled media, and I think Washington Post, which wasn't, but I mean, who knows? Maybe they were being funded through other ways
Well,
that
sure,
Doge uncovered. But I mean,
sure.
these were all people who they knew were going to ask completely safe questions
Well, these are the
that
corrupt
actually,
media.
right.
It's safe to assume that everybody that was actually in the room with the G7 leaders were part of the corrupt media. And maybe that's a super easy way to identify them, Sheila, is just to list them. Who was in the room with the G7 leaders? Oh, look, those are the corrupt media from Britain, from the United States, from Canada, and from all over the globe.
Like asking questions nobody cares about. But
Yeah.
regardless, they didn't want me there, so I was there. That's how I do things. I do a lot of things in my life for spite. I realize that that is not the most Christian of motivations. But if they didn't want me in there, Glenn McGregor didn't want me in there, good God, I'm going to be there. And I'm going to be sitting at my desk the entire time, just responding to emails and working away and finding things to do. And I also interviewed some form of ground squirrel. I couldn't properly identify it. No,
Oh,
definitely wasn't a
oh,
gopher.
please. It was like a Richardson ground squirrel. Please tell me that we're going to show our viewers that interview because it is by far the cutest interview to come out of the G7. I saw it and like if I could put 1,000 little heart emojis on that video, it was so delicious. Please tell me we're going to show our viewers this
Oh,
interview,
I
Sheila, that you
wonder. I
did.
think we can dig it up. Angelica posted it in the company Slack channel. There's, I don't know, 3 minutes at least of me interviewing the local fauna. because I
It's
was just
delicious.
like, what? I'm running out of things to do here. But luckily I was able to do the live stream from there both days. I didn't have to
Mhm.
like hand off any of my regular work to anybody else. I filmed a couple of videos from on the scene, like 4, I think, on the scene. And I have another one yet to come. And I was able to do some outside media, like with Newsmax, because they wanted to talk to Canadians who wouldn't give the approved Canadian government viewpoint on what was happening down there. So
Yeah.
I felt like I was able to accomplish something, even though I wasn't able to get near leaders with real questions. We wouldn't want that,
Yeah.
would we?
It was no, it was worthwhile. It was worthwhile going, and you can't know, like, you couldn't have known ahead of time
Nobody
that
knew.
they were gonna throw, that they were gonna gatekeep the media to begin with, but then once you passed the gate, they were just gonna put up another gate. Like, nobody
Yeah.
could have seen that coming. How absolute, but this is the way of these governments, working without scrutiny and without accountability to the people that they serve. This is the way that they work it. So, all in all, pretty shisty of
Yeah.
the government of Canada, pretty shisty. And it's sort of nothing. Well, it's not nothing for you. I mean, you went out of your way to be there, and you lived in a you lived in a campground for 4
Yeah.
days to cover the G7. But for the international press that would have had to cross the globe to get there, don't tell me that they're not absolutely livid with the government of Canada for pulling that little stunt last minute.
Yeah. I should tell our viewers at home, if you want to see our journalism, g7reports.com. And I promise you, I was as economical as possible. I was in the municipal camp. There's my personal holiday trailer. That's the Wolf Pup.
Mhm.
I was in the municipal campground in Canmore. I ate out of my fridge. I grabbed some steaks out of the freezer here, and we did it as economically as possible. And the reason I pulled my holiday trailer down there was that hotel rooms were $800 a night.
Mhm.
It like
How
to get
how many you
anywhere
think the
near
CB how many think the CBC booked? How many you think the CBC booked?
a full floor.
Dozens?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sure that
yeah,
cost me $40 a night at the
yeah.
municipal campground. And yeah, because it's $800 a night, and like we uh, can't like I just we could I couldn't justify the
No,
cost, especially when I've had the wolf pup, and I'm like, you know what? I also I don't want to potentially be in a hotel where I might cross paths with that surly woman, Rosie Barton, as if she would stay in the local 2.5-star hotel. But but I just was like, I just don't want to be anywhere near there. I need to retreat to my
yeah,
propane
it's
fire pit.
yeah, it's safe to say you're never gonna bump into a member of the CBC at your municipal campground. Like, we're checking in safe from the mainstream media when we go
Right.
to those places, and it's delightful. I'm
It is.
sorry, but we love it. We get one with nature, we meet our neighbors. It is just such an excellent, like, we travel, the Rebel Crew travels on a shoestring budget. Like, when I
Yeah.
say shoestring, we honor the support we get from our viewers, and we would never ever like misspend your money. Like, we do things as economically as possible when we're on the road, and it's just so fun. Like, truly, it's just so fun. I will say this: the CBC and the mainstream media and the ultra spoiled people, they're missing out.
It
They
is
don't get the
fun.
real life. It is fun.
It
It's the
is fun.
best.
It is fun despite the 5-minute lukewarm showers at the local campground. It's fun. It's fun. I enjoy
I'd be
it.
like, how few amenities and five-star experiences can we live with over the course of 4 days? And we've
All
done
of
this a
them.
bunch of times where we will be working in the driving like when we were on the Made Dark Side of Canadian Compassion tour,
Mm,
right? The film tour. We were working in the driving rain. We were going from small community to small community. And yet
yeah,
that was one of those memorable trips of my life, because there was nothing comfortable about it, but we still made it awesome, and we still made it fun, and we still met all those people. So it was wonderful. It was
I
just
I know
wonderful.
we have news to talk about, but I want to preface this with the fact that we were in the Red Deer Municipal Campsite just before that I went to the Canmore Municipal Campground because we were there for the Done Getting Screwed full day independent symposium. And so instead of getting hotels, you and I were like, let's go to the Lions campground. And that's what we did. And also I was trucking around all that merch through the G7. My vehicle's just full of Rebel News t-shirts. Imagine what the RCMP thought of me, like going through the checkpoints, and they're like, what's back there? T-shirts.
Did you get searched? Like, did they ask?
They asked, and I'm like, those are
They did.
t-shirts. And it's like, t-shirts. I'm like, yeah, t-shirts.
Four or 500 t-shirts.
400 or 500 t-shirts. Yeah.
Yeah. Let us know if you viewers, they're all available on the Rebel News website. You can get one for yourself.
rebelnewsstore.com. So yeah, this is what we do because we're crowdfunded, and I realize that everybody's dollar is important to them. You have fewer dollars in your pocket than ever thanks to the out of control spending of the Liberal government. $800 a night for a hotel room? No, thank you. I
could not justify it.
Yeah.
I could not justify. I'd die. I would die.
Die.
No.
I would absolutely die. I always think about that when I'm filing my expenses. I'm like, our viewers, I always think I would be proud to show my expenses to our viewers. I would.
Right?
Like, I would never. Did you eat?
Yep. I would never want to spend their money in a way that would disappoint them. So so we actually consider that. Now contrast this with the CBC, who pays a guy full time to walk around with a reflective shield.
The tinfoil man.
I mean, imagine trying to justify that for $2 billion a year. It's crazy. It's crazy. But that's the difference. And this is why we are beloved and they are not. Sheila,
that's right.
The people from the CBC don't get rushed up to on the street to have perfect strangers tell them that they love them, that they appreciate them, that they love that, to keep up the good work. We do. We get that all the time. That's a normal experience for our Rebel fans. So thanks so much, viewers, for loving us. We love you back, and we try and do right by you every single day.
We definitely do. Okay, let's get into the news. 18-20 minutes of our last week of adventures.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm happy. Actually, I'm glad I'm able to tell people, because I want them to know like what it's like when we're working compared to the other people in the media room. It's important to me. I want people to know. We've got this video of Prime Minister Mark Carney. This is from the G7, asked by somebody who is allowed to ask it, talking about his vision of Canada becoming an energy superpower. Now, he never actually means oil and gas or coal. Definitely not coal. What he means is polluting the energy grid with renewables so that we have rolling brownouts.
Right.
Let's watch.
Canada sent mixed messages in the past on our willingness to supply energy to allies, particularly LNG, to our allies in Europe and Asia. So what are you telling our G partners now about what Canada can do to secure supply? And is it very different from your predecessor's message?
I'll just look forward. As you know, or I believe you would, most Canadians do, we view that Canada has a unique opportunity to become an energy superpower. That's in all forms of energy. Would very much, to go to your specific question, would very much include LNG. We're seeing the opening very shortly. We just had opening of one of the major LNG projects, partially Indigenous owned, as you know. LNG Canada is about to be functioning, the largest LNG investment that we've seen. There is more that's possible, and there have been a number of discussions, including here, about potential LNG partnerships. So we look forward to those. As well, there have been a number of discussions, and I'll refer back to one of the decisions at this summit around Canada's immense potential to be a supplier of critical metals and minerals, rare earths. There was, this is my point to bring up my prop, which can you see this? You can't, but this is the magnet that President von der Leyen circulated, which is formed in Estonia by a Canadian company, and it is the only such magnet made outside of China right now. And of course, building that out with rare earth materials in Canada, this is one of many examples that we can supply. So being an energy superpower is conventional, it's critical minerals, it's clean energy, it's nuclear, it's hydro, it's all those aspects. And I would say a tremendous interest in that. And my government, alongside provincial governments, but of course at the core, the private sector is looking forward to developing those in the interests of shared prosperity.
I'm so happy he mentioned LNG and went off on a little tap dance about all of the glorious LNG projects that they are looking at developing, especially with Canadian First Nations people. But he also mentioned something that I thought was really interesting, and that is nuclear. So it's a little known fact that Brookfield, our favorite octopus acquisition company, acquired Westinghouse Nuclear back in 2023. Brookfield owns a 51% interest in Westinghouse Nuclear. Cameco owns a 49% interest in Westinghouse Nuclear, and this, of course, is in nuclear energy exploration. This is so important for the people of Saskatchewan. As you know, Saskatchewan holds the world share of uranium in our far, far north. And this, to me, what I just heard was Mark Carney saying that he is going to develop Saskatchewan's natural resources to benefit who? Canada? Who is that going to benefit? It's going to benefit his shareholders at Brookfield. You're welcome. You're welcome for that information.
Do you know what I noticed in that clip and nothing else? That was a press conference from the G7. If you roll back to the very beginning, I will tell you that Justin Ling was part of the media pool, and he's with the Toronto Star. He writes extensively crazy things about Rebel News. And he was not on his very best behavior, I should tell you, during the leaders' debates. And that's as much as I'll get into that. There's a video of me slightly yelling at him. Well, I wasn't yelling at him. I was being stern. I was doing my
You're scolding.
Don't make me stop this car voice on him.
That right. So that's the quality. That's a quality of journalist. Yeah.
Toronto Star.
Yeah. Is that you're going to go, it is a vapid left-wing progressive rag. That's what the Toronto Star is. I've never read a single word published in that entire magazine that I can agree with ever in the history of reading newspapers in Canada. And that's who they would elevate into the G7 media room. Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. And they're wondering why trust in journalism is plummeted. They wonder. Well, there it is.
I forget how many tens of thousands of dollars the Toronto Star gets in a week from the Trudeau government, but it's sure keeping Justin Ling employed. Okay, we've got another video. Prime Minister Carney says trade negotiations with President Trump are intensifying, and that he expects a deal with the U.S. in the next 30 days. I saw this written up as breaking, and I thought, what's breaking?
We've been at this for the last 160 days. Yeah.
Right. Breaking. Yeah. They've agreed to keep talking.
Breaking. The talks are still ongoing. Breaking. Still the same. Breaking. Nothing new. Breaking.
Happened. Let's watch this. And anyways, this was quite literally written up as like red headline, breaking. They've agreed to keep talking.
Nothing's happened yet.
Status quo? Thanks. Okay, let's watch.
Yeah. Over the past few days, Canada has worked with our G7 partners to determine where we can cooperate, build resilience and lasting prosperity. And that's the approach that Canada is taking as we negotiate a new economic and security partnership with the United States. And as I've stressed repeatedly, we will take all the time necessary to do that, but no more. And yesterday, President Trump and I agreed to continue to pursue those negotiations, intensify them towards a deal within the coming 30 days. And so the President and I, as well as cabinet ministers and officials, will remain in close contact in the coming days to deliver on that timeline.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. So nothing happened? You just said we've agreed to keep talking. I think the news would have been, we're not talking. I don't know.
That would have been an accurate headline, Sheila. But as we know, the corrupt mainstream media, you have to look at what they say, think the exact opposite, and that would be the truthful headline. No deal between Canada and the United States. An accurate headline, because I was a copywriter, as you know, before I went into radio.
Right.
And this here, an accurate headline would have been United States and Canada at trade impasse.
Right.
Because there has been no deal made. There has been no deal made. That's so interesting. But it's wonderful to hear him say, we are Canada and the United States is embarking on a new economic partnership. Well, that's not what you said in the election, Mark Carney.
Right.
In the election, you said the relationship that Canada has with the United States is over.
Right.
It's over.
And it's not.
So what is this?
It's not what your flaky nitwit Melanie Joly, the industry minister, is saying while she's in Paris. For the air show, she's saying, "Oh, we have to bring ourselves closer to the Europeans because we cannot trust those awful Americans." So which one is it? Like, you guys have to pick a lane. You're giving everybody whiplash.
Yes. Yeah, we don't quite know what side of the fence we're on when it comes to the federal government. It's almost like they continue doing what they were doing under Justin Trudeau and haven't quite got with the Mark Carney program. Not that we would know what the Mark Carney program is, because he spent so little time in the House of Commons trying to explain it to Canadians.
Yeah. It's just, who knows? Like, who quite literally knows? Especially this next video. So on one level, you hear Mark Carney saying, we need to call for a de-escalation between Israel and Iran, which means we need Israel to stand down. But what they mean when they talk about de-escalation, they mean, Israel, you have to stop bombing the people who want to kill you and who have tried to kill you. And we just have to leave the bad guys alone. So Mark Carney is calling for de-escalation, but simultaneously pointing out the necessity of a ballistic missile defense system similar to the Iron Dome, which is protecting Israelis and saving their lives.
Good evening, Prime Minister. Joanna Smith with The Logic. Yesterday, President Trump, after leaving the summit, told reporters that you had discussed Canada's participation in the Golden Dome defense system.
Yep.
You raised the price tag to $71 billion, or zero if Canada were to.
Is that in Canadian or
50 per state, U.S. dollars, I believe.
Well,
and so that he's
so-
not the only one sharing that. He said it would be a separate deal from any tariffs deal. What can you share about that discussion and where your thinking is now on that project?
Well, look, a couple of things. One is that, and part of the spirit, unfortunately, of these discussions is that the world is a much more dangerous place, and the threats that face Canada, face other countries, have shifted quite dramatically. We can see exactly, unfortunately, in very tragic respects, what's happening in the Middle East as we speak, in terms of threats from ballistic missiles, the necessary to have ballistic missile defense. Canada, our geography is less and less of a shield, of a natural shield in those respects, and Russia is an aggressor. Other hostile states are in prospect, terrorist organizations as well. We need to protect ourselves. That's part of the reason why, well, those are the reasons why we've started with the over-the-horizon radar scheme with the Arctic, which is one component of a broader protection that needs to be put in place. There are many reasons why partnering in this case, not all cases, but in this case, partnering with the Americans would make sense. We certainly do already, as you know, in NORAD, and this is a potential extension of that. But these are live, ongoing discussions, and we will continue to pursue them as long as they make sense for Canada.
This is all well and good, but the problem is that the problem with terrorism is probably from within at this point. I'm not sure how many terrorist missiles are going to fly over us and get to Toronto when I think the terrorists are already making themselves pretty well known on the streets of Toronto.
We've got 5 million new unvetted new Canadians in the country over these last several years. These are many, okay, many are not the best and not the brightest, right? And could be bad actors that have been sent over by Islamic states to destabilize things. We would be in a very, very precarious position, Canada, if we are trusting the federal government to vet and keep an eye on these people when we already know that they're not.
I'm trying to remember during COVID, an IRGC general who was implicated in the murder of a Canadian journalist was found working out at the gym of a local hotel. Like this is, yeah. Sorry,
Okay.
former Tehran police chief. This is what it is. I'll put it in the chat. So we've got some big problems here, really big ones.
Yeah.
And Mark Carney doesn't seem to recognize them. And I think we're going to have an influx of IRGC types into Canada seeking refuge in the next little bit. Perhaps they'll come in as foreign students. God only knows. But yeah, this is Canada sanctions. They sanctioned him. Okay, but how did he get into the country?
Yeah.
In the first place.
Yeah.
So
temporary foreign worker status.
He doesn't even have to. I think he just came in.
Student visa. Oh, did he? On like an asylum claim or a regular refugee claim?
They just let him in for a visit. You can be a murderer, Tehrani police chief, like the what do they call it? Morality police, the ones that cane the difficult women in the streets.
Right.
So
who uphold Sharia law, right?
Right.
Yeah.
They only sanctioned him after they saw him at the gym. But why was he in the country in the first place? Like if you're a trucker from the United States with a weed charge from your 20s and you're in your 50s, you can't get into this country. If you're a trucker from the United States who has an assault charge from a bar fight when you were 19, you are not getting into Canada. But an IRGC-linked Tehran police chief who was implicated in the murder of Iranian-Canadian journalist Zara Kazemi. He was just at the gym.
It's wild.
Working out.
That's absolutely wild. Yep. And that doesn't even begin to touch the Iranian terror cells that could be activated in the wake of any conflict between Israel and Iran. The United States does a much better job at keeping a handle on these guys.
Or at least they're trying. They're doing something.
Yeah, well, they know that it's a threat, and they acknowledge that it's a threat, that terror cells can be activated. Terror cells that are lying in silence in their host country can be activated to act against that country, and that in this case is Canada. And we should be real concerned. I mean, the federal government isn't good at managing anything they get their hands on, so we'll just add this to the long list of things that we should be concerned about. Canada.
Imagine you can't go to the gym because of COVID, because you're unvaccinated, but being a terrorist murderer, according to the government at the time, unvaccinated was worse than terrorist murderer down at the gym. As long as he had his vax card, he was good to go. Like it's just
you're trustworthy.
Crazy times.
We can tell you're trustworthy by your vax pass. Yeah, that's how they did it back then.
I can't wait to tell my grandchildren about these crazy times. We've got now on the flip side, President Trump. Where's Canada? We're just like, maybe there's Iranian officials in Canada, maybe not. Who knows? We don't know. What do you want us to do? Our job and find out? Come on. We work for the government. In the meantime, in the United States,
we have pride parades to go to this season, don't you know?
Don't you know? And in the meantime, President Trump is like, terrorists, good effing luck to you.
What do you say to the Supreme Leader of Iran who says that they will not
say good luck?
What is the end game?
Say it? It's already run out. That's why we're doing what we're doing. Yeah, they had 60 days and a big, 60 days, plenty of time. And they made a mistake. Honestly, they made a mistake. Their country's in ruins. So many people are dead that shouldn't be dead. It's a very sad thing.
Yeah.
Oh.
He said we gave him 60 days. Lots of time to get your head in order. And abide by the nuclear non-proliferation agreement that they signed. They didn't do it. And, the Americans actually aren't doing anything. What they're doing is not getting in the way of the Israelis cleaning up this mess.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. It would be a real disaster for the country of Iran if the United States got involved in a military capacity. It'd be a disaster. Okay, they would blow them off the face of the earth, the Americans. But by sort of just having Israel's back, and by saying, listen, whatever you guys have to do, we're going to support you in this. We're going to back you. We understand the threat.
We'll support you politically in doing this.
Yeah, but we understand the threat that you're under and that the people of Israel are under, and we'll just be here as a bat catcher. I think that's really good and prudent. It shows that Trump does have a great deal of restraint and a great deal of respect for regional issues that maybe aren't directly involving American issues or American sovereignty in itself. Yeah.
It's so funny because the left will still call him a Nazi, and it's like, have you heard about his Israel policy? Like, they're building a neighborhood. It's called Trump Heights in the Golan after him. Like, if he's being a Nazi, he's not good at it.
In the Golan Heights, one of the most contested regions of Earth in the world.
Yeah.
Huh.
Oh,
That's interesting.
from the left side, I think it's absolutely Israel's. They took it in a military action, and they should keep it because it's the high point, and they need it for strategic defense. And the Trump Heights is in the Golan. And again, if he is such a Nazi, he's doing it wrong.
Right.
They generally don't like the Jews and Israel.
Right.
But anyways, the left is not known for their ideological consistency.
Well, and they're known for their projection. So what they call you, they're actually just calling themselves their own worst nightmare. Yeah.
Right. We've got Trump on striking Iran's nuclear facilities. And this is Trump is exhibiting my parenting style. I make sure, at least when my kids were younger, like when they were prickly preteens, that they never knew what I was capable of. Like one time I just grabbed an ice cream and whipped it out the window. I didn't say a word. I wasn't angry. They were arguing. I told them to stop. And so I just reached around. I said, pass me your ice cream for a second. Grabbed the ice cream, threw it out the window and kept driving. And I just looked in the rearview mirror and they were just mortified. They were just like, and so I like them to never know what I am capable of. I like to be calmly unpredictable. That's my parenting style. No screaming, no yelling, none of that stuff. I don't have to. And Trump is the same way when dealing with Iran. He said, nobody knows what I'm going to do. I like that.
Yeah.
Questions about whether you are moving closer or you believe the U.S. is moving closer to striking Iranian nuclear facilities. Where's your mindset on that?
I can't say that, right? You don't seriously think I'm going to answer that question? Will you strike the Iranian nuclear component? And what time exactly, sir? Sir, would you strike it? Would you please inform us so we can be there and watch? I mean, you don't know that I'm going to even do it. You don't know. I may do it. I may not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do. I can tell you this, that Iran's got a lot of trouble, and they want to negotiate. And I said, why didn't you negotiate with me before? All this death and destruction. Why didn't you negotiate? I said to the people, why didn't you negotiate with me 2 weeks ago? You could have done fine. You would have had a country. It's very sad to watch this. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. It's so, everyone thought it was going to be the reverse. I didn't think so. And I was telling them, you gotta do something. You gotta negotiate. And at the end, last minute, they said, no, we're not going to do that, and they got hit. Remember 60 days, and then came the 60. 61 is going to become a very famous number. That was one hell of a hit, that first hit. That was one hell of a hit. Not sustainable, to be honest. That's where it ended. It ended on the first night. Yes.
Is it too late, though? Do you think it's too late to now?
Really, nothing's too late. The only thing too late is Powell. Powell's too late. Too late, Powell.
Have the Iranians reached out to you, Mr. President?
What?
Have the Iranians reached out to you?
Yes.
And what did you say?
I said it's very late. You know? I said it's very late to be talking.
Mr. President,
We may meet. It's. I don't know. There's a big difference between now and a week ago, right? Big difference.
It's really interesting because while I'm listening to Trump talk about maybe bombing the ever-loving crap out of Iran, there are F-18 fighter jets right outside my window doing circles around Virginia right now. Like, oh, that's what it would feel like to be in Iran. Oh, I got it. Could you hear it? Could you hear it on the mic?
Yeah, I could. Yeah, I
It
could.
is so noisy. It shakes the entire house. But no, he's saying if Iran reached out at this point to want to broker a last minute deal, would you do it? And it's like, well, there's still time, but they've had enough time. What did they think those 60 days were for? Like I think Trump is getting to the end of his rope with these guys, and we're going to see something pretty spectacular in these next couple of days. Like this is not, they're not turning down the simmer. They're turning up to boil.
Right. Well, as Trump tweeted or posted on X, he wants unconditional surrender. Like that's what peace means to him, is the complete surrender of Iran of their nuclear capabilities. My favorite part of that is how he started out by making fun of the journalist. When he's like, yes, we'll tell them exactly what time and when and the date, so that you can all be there to watch. Like he was just like, this is the dumbest question ever. We're supposed to signal to the Iranians what we're going to do and when we're going to do it. Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. That's a lesson that my mother taught me when I was a teenager, just because you told the story about like keeping your kids on their toes, never quite telling them what you're going to do. I was a teenager in a terrible, teenager relationship or whatever. And I was like, I was going to tell this boy what I was going to do. And my mom came in and she was like, Lise with her cigarette. She's like, Lise, Winston Churchill didn't call Adolf Hitler and tell him what he was going to do, and nor do you in these circumstances. You just you keep it a secret and you shock and awe. That's what you do. Yeah, guided my life ever since. Never tell him what you're up to. Never tell him what you're up to.
Never. That's great advice. Unless you need a co-conspirator, then I'm telling you.
Right. Well, I mean that goes without saying.
Yeah. Some says it's co-conspirators. Some might call it an accomplice, but whatever.
Yeah.
But whatever. Yeah. Let's, speaking of idiots, because that question was quite a dumb question from the journalist. CUPE Ontario sponsoring Hands Off Iran rally outside of U.S. consulate this Sunday.
Okay.
Featuring Fred Hahn, who increasingly looks like Rosie O'Donnell. CUPE Ontario called the poster an early unapproved draft version and said the group is calling for an end to war between Iran and Israel. And he has faced, Fred Hahn himself, many accusations of anti-Semitism. He is just a caricature of the left.
Well, CUPE members are actually suing Fred Hahn for his support of this garbage and throwing their Jewish members to the dogs. That is what CUPE does. Yep. I love how CUPE is like, hands off Iran. And yet when parents are like, hands off our kids, CUPE, okay, hands off our kids. We don't want drag queens in libraries. Right. We don't want your activism in our schools because schools are just infested with CUPE members. Then CUPE is like, no, we deserve your kids. Those are our kids. We're going to take your kids. But when it comes to Iran, they're like, don't instigate Donald Trump. Don't instigate. Like this political activism in Canada is the most destructive part of Canadian culture. None of what we see on the streets every day, especially of Toronto, of Montreal, of Ottawa, with the hate marches in the streets would happen without the express support of CUPE National. Like they are terrorists. Yes, they are.
It's just revolting too. Like then they try to walk it back and say it's an unapproved official first draft. But how is this anything different than what Fred Hahn has been saying the whole time.
Exactly.
Like it's the dumbest thing ever. They can't even call it the Israeli government. They call
Yeah.
it the illegal Israeli occupation of what? Israel?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
biblical land of Israel? Like
Yeah.
it's just the stupidest anti-Semitic stuff. And yeah, this is why I wish we
And
had
so
right to work legislation in Canada, because there are Jews who are forced into CUPE because they don't have an option if they work in a CUPE workplace.
Oh, so many CUPE locals, like the smaller locals that actually represent the workers, do not appreciate nor support anything CUPE National does. And Fred
Yeah.
Hahn, it's so interesting because Fred Hahn, whose ex bio says first openly gay prez of CUPE, okay, if he went to Palestine, they would not treat him well. They would not treat Fred Hahn well. So it's such a dichotomy. I mean, it's just such a dichotomy. It is so sick that hardworking union workers, union dues, go to pay this guy for his crazy activism. And what this does is work as a mechanism for permission for other left-wing activists to act in the wake of CUPE. So, I mean, in the new country, we are not going to suffer these fools. Okay, that we
Yeah.
are not going to suffer these fools.
What did I say before we went on air? Fred Hahn is in his ladies field hockey coach named Wanda era. God, what's it with these leftist men?
He looks like he's on some wrong sex hormones, doesn't he? Doesn't he?
Mhm.
He has the aggression of a man, but the hysteria of a woman.
Right.
Fred Hahn.
In
Yeah.
the before times, they would have called him, they would say he's stricken with the hysterical uterus. That was just affecting his mind. God. See what I mean? I'm not making that up. If
He is
somebody said to me, this is Wanda, she coaches ladies field hockey at a university level, and she enjoys books and Birkenstocks, and I would be like, yeah. Apparently that's Fred Hahn.
Fred Hahn looks like the Mucinex snot cartoon. You know the Mucinex commercials, right?
Yeah.
Just put those side by side. They're identical. You can't tell them apart. Separated at birth. There you go. You're welcome.
These people, they are truly caricatures of themselves.
Yeah.
We need to hit an ad break, and then we'll come back into I don't know. Let's Nathan Erskine-Smith just being as bitter as he possibly can be.
I mean, I'm here for it. I'm here for it all day long.
All day long. So and then I think we have 3 daily cringes, because I found like a last one on Libs of TikTok, and we have a recidivist named Olivia Chow in the daily cringe today.
You can never have too many daily cringes. Bring it on. But first,
an ad break.
An ad break.
Tired of supporting woke coffee companies that hate your values? Tired of drinking coffee that comes with the burnt, bitter taste of communism? Switch to fresh roasted, specialty coffee from a family-owned company built on faith, family, and freedom. Skip the shipping. Get free coffee and some cash for gas, groceries, and ammo by becoming a Resistance Coffee Outpost today.
Canadians know the national anthem. They stand in silence to remember those who died for this country. But not every Canadian knows their rights and freedoms. The Freedom Passport will change that. It looks and feels like a Canadian passport, but contains the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms in a portable, easy-to-read format. The Freedom Passport. Order one for yourself and for all the freedom lovers that you love at freedompassport.ca.
All right. We've got this article from Blacklocks, and it is Nate Erskine-Smith, the guy behind the vegan pandemic bill that died, thankfully, when they prorogued Parliament. He thought for sure he would be a good soldier and he would end up in Mark Carney's cabinet. He wasn't going to run again, but he thought, okay, here's what happened. He wasn't going to run again when he thought the Liberals were going to lose.
Right.
But then when he saw, well, they might win.
Yes.
So he ran again under the presupposition that he would be entitled to a place in cabinet. And then when he wasn't chosen in cabinet, he had like a big hissy fit.
Like huge, like absolute
The
meltdown.
betrayal. The betrayal of it all.
Publicly, yes. Just a public meltdown. Yep.
And now, when the prime minister was out of town on G7 business, this is in Blacklocks, he said, he made a statement in the House of Commons, like used his time in the House of Commons about the bill on industrial permits. He said, and it's on Bill C5. So it's the an act to enact the Free Trade and Labor Mobility in Canada Act. He said we should improve the bill and respect the democratic participation as we do. First, we should welcome greater parliamentary and civil society scrutiny. The government proposed guillotine motion seeks to limit parliamentary debate on every stage of the bill.
Like that one of them is actually calling their action a guillotine motion, like cutting off all expert testimony, cutting off committee and forcing it through. This is kind of unprecedented. I don't think we've seen this in the last 10 years, have we, Sheila?
Yeah,
Where we have a member of the Liberal Party of Canada openly criticizing the government like this.
Maybe Kevin Vuong, when he was a Liberal MP, maybe, I can't recall, or if his criticism started when he became an independent.
Right.
I'm not sure.
Maybe Anthony Housefather?
Maybe on Israeli issues or Jewish issues.
But not in the House. Like I don't think he did it in the House, did he? Or maybe he did.
I think
maybe he did. But anyway,
I think maybe he just took his complaints to social media, as these people
Yeah.
tend to do, where
But
they
this is-
actually mean nothing.
yeah, but this Mr. Erskine-Smith, I mean, this is brand new, and I'm here for it all day long. Ooh, let's watch.
Yeah, we've
let's watch
got
because
this.
he really comes out guns blazing against his own party. It's
He
magical.
looks disheveled, though.
First, we should welcome greater parliamentary and civil society scrutiny. The government's proposed guillotine motion seeks to limit parliamentary debate at every stage of the bill. More concerning, it will jam all expert and public testimony and all committee scrutiny in less than 2 days. For what? Consider that Parliament isn't currently scheduled to sit between June 20th and September 15th. We are rushing legislation through Parliament under the auspices of an urgent threat, but we aren't willing to put Parliament to work for what, an additional week to get things right? The debate on amendments does not need to be rushed. We could easily extend committee hearings by an additional week, provide resources for the committee to sit every day, and engage in a more thoughtful process to hear from experts, improve the bill, and pass it through the House by Canada Day.
Like, was that the Conservatives applauding him?
Yeah.
It sure sounded like it, because that is not something that his own party would applaud. So, that's real interesting, Sheila Gunn-Reid. And of course he's right. Of course, 2 days to push through a massive, massive piece of legislation is not enough.
No,
without
of course
scrutiny.
not.
And there's a reason. We should be asking ourselves, what is the reason why the Liberals would want to push through a hulking, humongous piece of legislation without scrutiny, without accountability? And I would venture a guess it's because they're hiding some in there.
Well, and like Nate Erskine-Smith, I don't think he's doing that. He's right in saying these things. But I question his motives, because I don't think he's doing it out of place of principle. I think he's doing it out of place of absolute bitterness. And
Yes.
don't kid yourself. He's not a conservative. If he leaves or gets kicked out of the Liberal caucus, he will sit as an independent. If the Conservatives take him, I think you're crazy, even though you need the numbers.
Agreed.
I think you'd be crazy to take him, because he has been one of the most vitriolic and vicious anti-conservatives in the Liberal caucus. He might go to the NDP. I think he might actually even be a better fit for the NDP than the Liberals, because he seems like on the left wing of the left wing of the Liberal Party.
Agree. I agree with that. Yeah, I concur. Yeah, he would be better. He'd be better suited. His personality and his political leanings are better suited for the NDP than they are for the Libs. But watching the Liberals eat their own like this.
Oh, I'm here for it all day long.
All day long. This gives me life.
I'll bring the condiments. And you know, where was he all the other times the Liberals invoked closure to cut off debate in the House of Commons and pushed legislation through? In the last House of Commons, like, he never stood up when Ryan Turnbull invoked closure. I forget which bill it was. Let me look. On the budget bill, in order to get the legislation passed in 2024,
yes.
Ryan Turnbull invoked closure. Ryan Gerritsen just nodded along with everybody else. So, like, let's give me a break. This isn't about, again, this is like Doug Ford with him saying, like, people need to defend themselves. You are right, but you're the wrong guy to be making the case.
Right. You could have made a difference when these decisions were being made. That's right. Like too little too late. Too little too late. But yeah, that he's telling off his own party. I'm here for it.
Yep. Let's go to, I'm going to skip ahead because we're like at the top of the hour already, and we still, I mean, the Daily Cringe always takes longer than we planned for it because it's so much fun to drag these people. Let's go to Vancouver City Council.
Yeah.
And then we'll show a bit of Lincoln. Lincoln is, I guess, Canada's leading crime reporter at this point. Lincoln J.
He's great.
He's
just
great.
Yeah.
Vancouver City Council votes to allow safe inhalation sites. So it's not bad enough that they're already doing like the safe injection sites, what we call shooting galleries, where you have a place where you can inject into your veins illegal poisons, which are robbing you of your productivity, your potential, and your family. And now they're giving a place for you to huff gas and paint and glue.
Oh no.
What's the reason for this?
Oh no, Vancouver. You know, you have so many problems that stem from illicit drug use. And I mean, anybody with half a brain would understand that huffing gas and inhalables and toxins
and
out of plastic
meth,
bags,
like a place to go smoke meth and huff gas. This is their
insane.
Solution to the addiction crisis.
Yeah. Well, what they're trying to do is just get those addicts away from the tourists, you know, the polite society of Vancouver. They just want to shove them all in a corner and keep them out of sight. But really, is that going to benefit the people that are addled in addictions? And really, at the end stage, listen, when addicts are huffing gas, they're at the end stage of their addiction. Okay, they're not being picky about what they're doing. When you're, I mean, this is just par for the course for Vancouver. But watch for this to be a disaster. Just mark our words. This is going to be a disaster in the end.
Imagine saying to someone with diabetes, we're going to give you
all the sugar,
a safe place to just hammer back some fuzzy peaches and sour keys.
Yeah.
Like
Pixie sticks.
And you would think that's crazy. Now, I'm using a very mild analogy to addiction, right? Like, really, the only person you hurt when you're hammering back sugar when you are type 1 or even type 2 diabetic is you and possibly the taxpayer because of the burden you're placing on the healthcare system. But like, end stage addicts are a plague first upon themselves, but also then to their family and society writ large. Crime, chaos, social and moral decay, gangs move in, like proliferation of social ills like prostitution and
like sex trafficking.
Sex trafficking. Like, and the government is like, you know what? That thing that's causing all of that, we're going to give you a safe place to do it.
That it's just insane. It's just patent insanity. And yeah, that's Vancouver for you.
That is Vancouver for you. Lincoln J, as we alluded to just moments ago, he's been on the case of the panhandler scammers, which I guess are, many of them are known, how do I put this? Politically correctly as Roma or Romani.
Yes.
They may have been in the olden times called gypsies, but these
Travelers.
are
Also
travelers.
travelers. Yeah.
Yes. People from Eastern Europe and the like who sort of roam around in a self-sustaining crime syndicate, I might call it.
Kind of. Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of their scams are involving rental tenancies and panhandling on the street corners. And then like a luxury SUV will come up and pick up a bunch of them who are stationed on different street corners and take them to a central house where they're all living together. And
part of their culture is to undertake this sort of low-level community crime until the point that the community gets so angry at them, and then they just pick up and move on to the next place. So they're very, very fluid and very easy, which is why they're called travelers in Europe. Yes.
Yeah, and preying on the best impulses of people.
The generosity of people. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's show this video of Lincoln, who, like, our emails are inundated. Once Lincoln did this first story, it was like people sending us like Google Maps pins.
Touched a nerve. Yeah.
Yeah, of where they've seen it, where they themselves know that they've fallen victim to it, where they've said, I saw this lady panhandling here. I gave her money, but then I watched her go around the corner and get into another car, like a luxury car, and drive away. So we've got this latest video from Lincoln: panhandling scam, theft, and unpaid rent exposed.
Why are you out begging for money when you live here? I'm about to share a shocking story involving theft, panhandling, and unpaid rent like nothing you've seen before.
These people were loaded. They had a lot of money. We were concerned that he's going to burn down our house.
You're about to discover a couple who came to this country to take advantage of the system and hardworking Canadians.
He pushed me from the porch. At that time, I called the police too.
This investigation runs deep with ties to the United States and Romania. Let's dig in.
Casalina Margell is on the run.
How did you get into Canada? Why are you out?
Lincoln J.
Lincoln J.
Not bad, buddy. I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, so that's just a teaser of it. But yeah, Lincoln went right to their house. So you could see that they're living in a decent, single family bungalow. They're not poor. They're living off the generosity of other people. If I had to guess, they're probably on welfare too. Why not? Taking advantage of the system. And this is part of a criminal crime syndicate. How are they in the country? What exactly are the people doing at Immigration Canada? Like, what are you doing?
Well, I mean, I would love to know. I would love to know. Isn't that interesting? No, in every major urban center, we've seen panhandling. Well, I bet it would mirror immigration numbers. We've seen panhandlers and buskers, street performers. You can also lump in with that, increase proportionately with the increase in immigration. So I can't wait to see what Lincoln has uncovered. I just can't wait.
Yeah. He's so brave. And again, what are they doing down at Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada? Don't they have people to do this? What are you doing over at the CBSA?
Yeah.
What are you doing? How are these people in the country? Why is Lincoln digging into this when we have people, investigators who are paid to do this?
Well, again, it's Pride season, and so there are those parades, Sheila. Okay, those parades are not going to march themselves.
Yeah, and like, here's Lincoln telling the story of the victims of these people. These people are victimized.
Yep, it sounds like he had a landlord there, a landlord witness, a landlord victim. Good job. I love this type of journalism, though. Like, I love this type of journalism. But Lincoln works a lot with our David Menzies, so he had a good mentor.
Yes. And Lincoln, because he's a video editor, he's got a real flair for the dramatic when he's editing all together, you know, like he's got the like jump cuts and the suspenseful music to really make it visually compelling. So that's going to be a great video.
Yeah.
Good job. We've got a few little chats here, and then we will go to the daily cringes.
Okay.
Okay. So Alberta Dawn says tens of thousands of Chinese asylum seekers came to Canada when COVID started. Now, I don't know.
Accurate.
I don't know if they were specifically asylum seekers or if they were just in the regular old immigration tract, which could be the case. But regardless, the impact on Canadian society is still the same.
Yes.
Iran is crumbling. What will happen when hundreds of thousands of unvetted Iranians wanting asylum arrive in Canada? Amazon's here.
Sorry, everyone.
But that is indeed true, and the same could be said of what will happen when several thousand unvetted immigrants from Gaza come here. Asylum from Gaza, where they are taught in UN-run schools to hate the Jews. What do you think is going to happen to Toronto then?
Wild.
Yeah.
Yep. What will happen when hundreds of thousands of unvetted Iranians wanting asylum arrive in Canada? The exact same as what's happened already.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we'll just have
more of the same.
IRGC generals instead of just the like police chief of Tehran who beat a Canadian journalist to death for taking pictures on the street.
Just insane. Like it's insane. It's insane. This is upside down world.
Yeah. P. Schofield 10, your regular viewer of the show, regular supporter of the work that we do here at Rebel News, gives us $5 and says, geez, good old Prime Minister was the top of his noggin always flat.
With his little, you know what? I just need to talk about it with his little bald spot. Like he's got the puffy little monk circle hair, and then the little bald spot in the middle. Yeah, it looks like it's been that flat for several decades. P.S. Caulfield.
Yep. J. Thomas 8318 gives us $5 and says, speaking of the new owners of Canada, the CCP, they are getting access to the Canadian level 4 biolab that helped develop COVID again. Could be the case. I don't know if you saw my story from last week. We're getting a new level 4 biolab. This one with animals to do animal virology research. Now, I'm actually not significantly opposed to us needing a new biolab. I think the world is dangerous, and China is constantly developing things to want to kill us all. So I think we should be doing research. I don't think we should have the Chinese at our research facilities. I think that seems crazy. And I don't think we should be getting a new level 4 biolab in Winnipeg up the road from the last biolab when we still don't know what happened at the last biolab.
That's right. Yeah,
we
don't some nefarious work was happening at I think that we can all agree on that. Some nefarious work was happening at the Winnipeg biolab. The safety and security protocols were not followed. And perhaps that there is the question of the paternity of the COVID-19 virus as it pertains to Canada's participation in it.
Right. They were smuggling Ebola, Henipavirus or Hepanavirus, I forget where the P and the N is there, out of there, among other things, back to the Wuhan Virology Institute, which is considered the genesis of the COVID-19 pandemic. They were working directly with somebody working on gain of function with bat coronaviruses. They called that lady the bat lady. So was COVID-19 at least developed in part with the Winnipeg biolab?
In Canada, that's right. In
Canada, will we ever know? I think we should find out, but the federal government won't turn over those documents after CSIS started an investigation. The head of Public Health Canada, the Public Health Agency of Canada, he was censured in the House of Commons, the first bureaucrat to have that happen to them in 100 years. Then he quietly retires.
Wild.
We should know, and we would know.
Oh, we should know. Absolutely, yes.
And we would know if the Conservatives were elected, but now we've got another 4 years for the Liberals to obfuscate and hide the documents.
Well, when you think about
if I had to guess, COVID-19 was at least developed in part using technology developed by those 2 Chinese spies and the bat lady at the Wuhan Institute of Virology.
Yeah, its provenance was at least in part partially Canadian. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Prove me wrong.
Prove us wrong.
Okay, we've got Daily Cringe recidivist, repeat offender, Olivia Chow, Mayor of Toronto. She says Toronto is awesome. We added over 250,000 people to our population last year.
Indeed, Toronto is the fastest growing city in North America. Last year alone, our city added 270,000 people. Indeed.
That's not good. You can't house them.
that is a terrible, terrible thing to brag about. Yeah, I don't think this is Olivia, I don't think this is the flex that you think it is. I really don't think that that's the flex you think it is. Considering the total number of people experiencing homelessness in Toronto is 7,347 people. So instead of housing those people, your chronically and sometimes part-time homeless population, you're going to bring in 250,000 newcomers to Toronto and brag that it's the fastest growing. Like listen, I love the people of Toronto. Okay, I love the people of Toronto.
I feel bad for them. I have nothing but pity for them.
But that place is unhinged. Like, it's absolutely unhinged when it comes to growth, when it comes to taxes, when it comes to infrastructure, when it comes to, like, it is altogether too much, Toronto. And here she is bragging about it.
Well, I think, what is it? Like vulnerable seniors waiting 10 years for housing? How many of them are going to die? Waiting for 10 years for housing because Olivia Chow was like, it's awesome, fastest growing city in North America. You know why? Because they changed the rules. You can make an asylum claim at Pearson now. So that's where you just stay.
So they're just flying in, claiming asylum at the gate and just walking in. I'm not saying, it's really interesting. Whenever I see these announcements about new highs in population, Saskatchewan is guilty of this too, the province of Saskatchewan.
Us too.
I never, ever, ever see announcements about new hospitals being opened, new schools being built. I never see announcements about housing, not so much housing starts, but housing finishes and new housing coming on the market. We never see those things. And here, Olivia, like that girlfriend, I'll just go back to this. That entire little speech is not the flex you think it is.
Right.
It's not.
Right.
As a matter of fact, it just,
the rest of the world is dumping people into Toronto, and the Liberals made it so.
According to the UN, we're the 4th most popular destination for asylum seekers in the world.
Right.
Canada is. That's not a flex, Olivia Chow. It's not.
That reminds me, if I had been in the media pool, I would have loved to have been there for the joint session with the South African president and Mark Carney. Would you like to know what my question would have been based on your question?
Yes.
I would have asked a question that went a little something like this. We see that Canada absorbs the 4th highest number of refugee claimants in the entire world. We are way outsized when it comes to our per capita absorption of refugee claimants. Would you, Mark Carney, be in favor of replicating what the United States has done? And would you consider absorbing some white farmers as refugee claimants from South Africa? Or have you finally met a refugee you don't like?
That would have been a fantastic question. An absolutely fantastic.
And then I would never be asked back. But you know what? You got to shoot your shot. Anyway.
Yeah.
We've got another one from Olivia Chow. Announces the East Harbor Transit Hub that will service 100,000 daily riders to make it easier for people from East York and Scarborough to get downtown. Okay, let's see. Olivia Chow.
We are building an East Harbor Transit Hub together. This will be Toronto's 2nd busiest station, with more than 100,000 daily riders. Home of the new Ontario line and serving commuters from Lakeshore East and the Stouffville GO train. East Harbor Transit Hub makes it easier for people from East York and Scarborough to get downtown. With better public transit, we will get more cars off the road and reduce congestion.
Does she ever watch herself afterwards? Like, that's why this is the Daily Cringe. Like, yes, you've got a problem if you need to build a new transit hub to service the entire population of Red Deer, Alberta. Like
100,000 people.
How crowded are these other, and that's a problem, because this is what happens when you are North America's fastest growing city, because the world is dumping all the refugees on you.
Yes.
But does she ever watch how she speaks? Like, I know I have particular habits when I talk, and I know, like, I have a way of speaking that doesn't hit the palate right for everybody. But the way that she is, like, this, you're at a press conference, you're not hyping up your kindergarten class for gym.
Yeah. And the entire time she's talking, Sheila, I'm thinking to myself, I can't wait for the Ben Bankus redo of this video. I can't wait for the Ben Bankus redo.
For the Ben Bankus voiceover.
Ben Bankus, we are calling on you to do a public service for the people of Rebel News to please dub this video into something better than it actually was. No, but what she's
for the people of Toronto, please.
For the people of Toronto. No, what Olivia Chow is actually doing here is admitting her failure in thinking about providing the services that the people of Toronto and Scarborough and surrounding areas need, by bringing in 250,000 people without considering infrastructure, without considering transportation, without considering hospitals, education, public services, utilities, all of it. This is what we get. Sheila Gunn-Reid and David Menzies and I were in a car together. We had to drive, I want to say it was like 13 kilometers. Do you remember, Sheila? Do you remember? Yep. 13 kilometers? It took us over an hour to drive 13 kilometers.
That's
like
13
Toronto
minutes.
is unhinged.
Yeah.
In not providing services for its people. Yeah, and this is just a failure of Olivia Chow trying to use her arm movements to make it look like she's all excited about her own failure. What she just did was admit it publicly.
Like, they brought in a large Alberta city size worth of people. Like, that's crazy.
It's insane.
You have to build a new city.
Yeah.
When you bring in a city's worth of people, you just can't say, like, we built some transit.
But they don't. But here's the thing, they don't. No. What the people of Toronto will see is their taxpayer funded services go down, and the accountability by the city going down. Like, that's all that's going to happen. Is those services are going to
hour-long commute to go a 10-minute
13
drive.
Kilometers.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's what it was.
It's crazy. The 401 makes, well, I was nauseous. I did have to, David Menzies did pull over so I could throw up. Like,
I was drafting my obituary in the back of David Menzies' car. That is how insane. Like, I'm from Saskatchewan, right? We drive low, and so like a Sunday afternoon, I go to Alberta. I was like, why are you guys in such a rush? Okay, whoa, that was
got money to make
compared to the 401. I've never seen anything like it. It was just insane. It was just insane.
I felt like I was in a NASCAR race.
I felt like I was human Frogger.
Yeah.
Human Frogger, just in the lanes. It was crazy.
It's crazy. You're a special breed of people who can tolerate that. You just really are. I don't know. Nobody shoulder checks there either. It's a strange place. Daily Cringe. This was my selection. From Libs of TikTok. Maine Democrat Representative Amy Kuhn says she's against restricting a child's access to, let's just say, explicit content online, because it could limit young people's access to obscenity. What? Yes, exactly. That's why I'm for it.
Excuse us. Okay, go on.
We should all recognize the dangers that unrestricted access to explicit content poses to young minds. Studies have shown that exposure to pornography can lead to issues like predatory behavior, abuse, anxiety, depression, and distorted views of relationship. Present-day pornography is not the same as things we found in magazines from the 70s, simply naked pictures. Pornography of this day and age is more likely to be violent, sadistic, and have emotionally traumatizing content that children are unable to handle.
Right.
In
Yes.
2022, a report noted that 54% of teens surveyed first saw online pornography at age 13 or younger, with 15% exposed before age 11. The Institute for Family Studies highlights that 93% of boys and 63% of girls report exposure to internet pornography before age 18, with the average age of first exposure being 12.
These parameters could limit young people's access to sexual and reproductive health care information on websites that might fall under the definition of obscenity, but really be intended for educational purposes for their use.
This lady's crazy.
Insane, but this is their argument, because in Saskatchewan, where parental rights and where sex education is still a hot button topic, what we learned was 10 years ago, Saskatchewan educators started outsourcing their Saskatchewan sex ed curriculum to third-party providers, including Planned Parenthood, amongst many, many other third-party providers. And what it showed was with the resources coming out of the third-party providers, which are inherently, pornographic in nature.
Right.
We saw Saskatchewan teenagers' pregnancy rates go through the roof in that time, and we saw their rates of sexually transmitted infections go through the roof during this time. So access to the information does not positively impact health outcomes. As a matter of fact, the statistics show the exact opposite. It makes them reckless in their sexual behavior. And this is what they defend. This is what they defend. They defend giving little children pornographic materials to remove their boundaries, to
desensitize,
to groom them. To groom them. Yeah. This is what they do, and this is what they're defending. It is freaking ridiculous. I'm so tired of these arguments.
Yeah, I mean, this stuff is shocking and graphic, but the more you're exposed to it, the less shocking and less graphic it feels, and the more normalized it becomes. And that, as you said, that only serves one purpose. Right? Because this stuff, it should be considered graphic and horrific and completely out of bounds for children. And to conflate this with something you might find in a medical textbook is a complete fallacy.
That's exactly right. But this is what the left has done. This is what the left has done. They say, if you want your kids to be safe, if you want your kids to be safe, you will allow them to take this sexual health training, and you will allow them access to these books. But really what it does is break down those social boundaries. And this is child safeguarding, like basic child safeguarding. We do not let children do the same things as adults do, because we know that they're not mentally capable or mature enough to be able to understand them in a healthy manner. And yet this is the argument of the left. This is the argument of the left, the deviance, absolute deviance.
I can't believe she said that. This will stop them from getting access to obscene materials. Yeah.
This is what all of the trans activists say in Canada. Yeah. This is what everybody at a pride parade in Canada says. Right. The kids must be given pornographic materials or else they won't be safe.
Right.
Baloney.
I think, let's just check. I'm going to have a little check and see if we have, we have no chats left. We read the other ones. I think that's it for the show today. We are 23 minutes over the top of the hour. Lise, thank you again.
Oh, you're very welcome, my dear. I will see you same place, same time next week, next Tuesday.
Yes. Thank you very much. Olivia, Efron, you guys working behind the scenes at Rebel News. Thank you so much. I know we ask you to do a lot of things sort of on the fly as we're talking, and we appreciate you and everybody who watches the show and shares the show with someone they think needs to see the show. We appreciate you. It costs you nothing to help spread the good word of smaller government and personal responsibility. And thanks to all of you who regularly chip in to keep the lights on here at Rebel News. You know that we value your dollar the way we would value our own, and we stretch it as far as we possibly can. And thank you so much for doing that. I think we'll wrap the show for today. I believe I am back here same time tomorrow. As my friend David Menzies always says, and I'm sure he doesn't follow his own advice. Stay safe. He doesn't do that. Stay sane. I think that ship has sailed. So stay safe and stay sane.
Oh, hi, guys. I was watching the interview I did with Tommy Robinson from Luton the other day, and I came to a realization. It's a bit of a secret, and I don't know if you know this, but I'm fat. I'm fatter than I've pretty much ever been. I weighed myself this morning, and I'm 251 pounds. That is an eighth of a ton. That's not funny. And I'm telling you this because I know you wouldn't have guessed it on your own. I wasn't always this way. In fact, a year ago, I was pretty fit. During the pandemic, I started working out. I started working out 6 days a week. I even had a personal trainer. I started eating a little bit better. And to help boost me, I took that med called Ozempic. I got my weight down to about 220. I was on the right path. And then it just sort of fell apart. My personal trainer left Toronto for Florida. Boy, a lot of smart people are doing that. I got really busy, so I made excuses for not going to the gym. I started eating poorly, and here I am. And I realize that that is not good. And the way I operate is through peer pressure, by having people encourage me, and through a little bit of friendly fat shaming. I guess what I mean is people who will constructively criticize. So I'm letting you know that I am setting up something called fatchallenge.ca, and I'm challenging myself in public to get my weight down to 200 pounds. I got to do that. It's just not healthy, let alone it doesn't look good, let alone I don't look good in my clothes, etc. You might remember a few months ago, I saw my counterpart at CBC. Her name is Rosemary Barton, and I think she has the same problem as me. She was sort of eating her feelings. And I challenged her to a, who can, the greatest loser, the biggest loser type thing. I think she really took that negatively. Did you see my challenge? Sister, it's not a negative thing. I just look at her and I look at myself and I think, we're a couple people in a stressful business and it's tough to find time to exercise. So I want to give her a challenge, and I want to challenge you, my viewers, to join our fatchallenge.ca. I told you the ugly truth. 251 pounds. I'm going to work to get that down to 201. Now, I know it should be a lot less than that. I'm only 5'9". I should weigh like 170 or something. But that'll be a great first start. I want to do it by eating healthy and not eating so much. By the way, I've got a new fitness influencer, just someone I follow on TikTok, who talks about being skinny and hot. And I thought, well, those are two things I want to be. Here's some of her tips about making good decisions. Here's Brooke.
You're not hungry, you're just bored. The best way to stop mindlessly snacking is to carry around a companion drink. Food is not the problem. Your discipline is. A craving is just a thought, and not all thoughts deserve a response. If it did, we'd all be crying in our ex's DMs and eating ice cream in bed, and we are too hot for that. So let's not.
I tell you, I'm looking at Brooke. It's like I'm looking in a mirror. I think there's a lot of common sense there. And she doesn't really talk about nutrition that much. She talks about friendly fat shaming yourself. And if you can't do that, well, do what I'm doing. Set up a website, check in every week. So the starter mark is 251 pounds. Let's see if I can get that number going in the right direction. I'm relying on your friendly, loving bullying to help me get there. And if you want to join me, whether you're famous like Rosemary Barton or not so famous, but want to join in my mission, please do. Let's see how much fat we can lose together. That's fatchallenge.ca.